Yo, Brawlers, this is your man, Glass Chin, and you're watching Glass Chin's Boxing. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Yo, Brawlers, just going to give my final thoughts on the Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Luis Ortiz fight. I'm not really going to do a prediction for this one, as I think at the age of 43 and how Ortiz seemed to have lost his punch resistance against Martin last time out, this fight really is Andy Ruiz Jr.'s fight to lose. Ruiz, the former unified WBA, IBF and WBO world champion, is now 32 years old. He turned pro in 2009. He has a record of 34 wins, 2 losses, no draws, and has racked up 22 knockouts to his name. Ortiz is 43. Don't let that number fool you, Brawlers. He isn't 10 years older. A lot of people are claiming that he's now 53. That really is laughable. It started out he was a few years older than what they say now. It's a whole decade. There is no way he turned pro at the age of 41 back in 2010. He has a record of 33 wins, 2 losses, no draws, and 28 big wins by knockout. He had that long amateur career back in Cuba, racking up 349 wins and only 19 losses. He's a former Cuban national champion, and he competed in the World Championships back in 2005, where he got through the first 2 rounds but lost in the quarterfinals. Ruiz himself had a decent amateur background. He had 110 fights to his name. He failed to make the Olympics in 2008, losing his first trial to Robert Alonso, a man that Ortiz had a long amateur rivalry with. Then he lost his second trial to Michael Hunter. No shame in that. I think I might have just said Alonso. I meant Robert Afonso, the former Olympian from Cuba. But anyhow, there's no shame in losing to Robert Alfonso or Michael Hunter. Ruiz last fought in May last year against Chris Arreola. Ruiz was dropped in the second round and hurt at the end of the second. He was almost dropped again at the start of the third round, and they traded some big leather in the fifth. Ruiz was really struggling at the halfway point in that fight, but he made the adjustments he needed to win the fight. He stopped pressing the action so much on the front foot and let Arreola come to him. He was much more effective timing Arreola and countering him. He controlled the fight from range and distance well. He took over in the second half of the fight and did more than enough to win, but Ruiz did take a lot of punishment from a fighter who seemed washed and hadn't won a fight since his loss to Kalnacki in 2019, and it had been almost 5 years since his one-sided beating that he had at the hands of Deontay Wilder. Arreola quit on his stall in that fight and it looked like his career was over. You would have expected Ruiz to do a job on Arreola at that stage of his career, but he was unable to. It was a competitive fight and Ruiz took a lot of punishment. Ortiz is a lot better than Arreola in terms of boxing ability and his boxing brain. Ortiz last fought against Charles Martin in January this year. In a fight he looked his age for the most part, getting dropped twice, once a really heavy shot in the first round, and then later in the fight by a single jab. His body and head could take the punishment and take the hits, but his legs looked completely shot. He didn't have the punch resistance that he once had. He no longer looked like the mobile master boxer that he once was. He's always has great legs for a guy his size, and you could see the influence that Muhammad Ali had in him. Muhammad Ali was his idol growing up, and you could see some of Ali in his style. Martin was a different type of opponent to Ruiz. Martin's a tall, big southpaw with long arms. He was able to land single jabs. With his long arms, Martin was able to swing big shots from range and hit the target. He was able to find Ortiz a lot easier than you would have expected him to be able to going into that fight. But Ruiz can't fight Ortiz like Martin did. Ruiz won't be able to land jabs from the outside. He has to get on the inside and land fast combos. He has very short arms. I expect him to land a lot of body work early in the fight to sap the energy from Ortiz. I would guess that Ortiz will win maybe the first 3 rounds, and then Ruiz will start to take over. I don't think Ruiz is a huge puncher. I don't think he's as big a puncher as people make out, just because he managed to get that knockout over Joshua. Bear in mind, Joshua got up off the floor 4 times in that fight. Ruiz has strengths though. He can fight at a fast tempo and throw a lot of punches. I would expect Ortiz to tire and completely gas out by the 8th or 9th round. Ruiz will then maybe take him out. I genuinely believe a 2015 version of Ortiz would beat Andy Ruiz Jr. on points, but this is 2022 and time waits for no man. If this fight goes to the scorecards, I'd have thought that maybe Ruiz might get a little bit of favour from the judges. They're both with the PBC, but I'd expect Ruiz to be viewed as the home fighter in this fight, purely because the Deontay Wilder fight is looking likely for early next year, should Ruiz win. And to be honest, Ortiz is coming to the end of his career. Even if he wins this fight, he hasn't got a lot left in the tank. Ruiz has a lot of fights left in him if he wants them. He might not be hungry anymore. I mean, he made a lot of money against Joshua and he could retire now and never work another day in his life. But out of the two of them, you have to say that the PBC should be more invested in Ruiz. He's only 32 at the end of the day. I'm not saying that Ortiz will get robbed in this fight, as in terms of they've paid the judges, but you have to think that the judges just might see Ruiz as the home fighter and maybe lean towards him if there's any close rounds. So as I said, I'm not saying that Ortiz will get robbed because, to be honest, gun to my head, I'd probably pick Ruiz to win this fight by stoppage. I don't think Ortiz has ever got the respect he deserves as a top heavyweight in this era, but I think he's a little bit past it now. But to be honest, I'm picking Ruiz, but I'm hoping Ortiz can maybe roll back the years a little bit and give Ruiz a tough fight, or at least give him a few things to think about. I mean, Ruiz seemed like he wanted a tune-up before this fight, and he's been out a year, so he's definitely going to be rusty. Dropping the weight after the Joshua fight doesn't seem to have done him much favours, and it doesn't seem to have helped his style much. Definitely didn't in the Arreola fight. So maybe Ortiz can make it hard for him, make it a hard night. I'd say one of the advantages that Ortiz has is, I'd say the single punch power is definitely with Ortiz. I'm not sure how experienced Andy Ruiz is against southpaw, so that's another thing. So there is things in Ortiz's favour going into this fight. So like I said, Ruiz may be the favourite, but I wouldn't be shocked if Ortiz did cause the upset. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised if Andy Ruiz goes in there all guns blazing in the first round, swarms Ortiz, and Ortiz's legs can't take it. Sort of a don't blink moment. He may go down 3 or 4 times in the first round if Ruiz can make it that kind of fight. Although I really don't think that will happen, but it could happen. I think it will take at least a few rounds for Ruiz to find his range. Then Ortiz will slow down as the fight goes on. I mean, I did say I wasn't going to make a prediction, but I guess I already did. I guess I'm going with Ruiz by stoppage mid to late in this fight. But I've got a bit of a soft spot for Ortiz and I like to back the underdog, so part of me wants him to win. What do you think, Brawlers? Are you backing Ruiz to get the win? Are you backing Luis Ortiz? What's your prediction? Do you think Ruiz will knock him out late, like me? Mid to late? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, Brawlers. And as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video.